Let your husband finish his sentences and his thoughts before you begin chiming in with your 2 cents. And this is hard for women, but let him finish speaking. And I know sometimes it takes so long for them to get to the end of the sentence. Does that happen to me? Oh, it's like, I just want to finish his sentences so we can move on to the next point. Because I don't know, and I know this is true because I've talked to many women that feel the same way, and it's not the same for every single husband, but it's like our minds are just wired differently than theirs, and often like we are like 10 thoughts ahead of where. Do you ever feel like that? Like that you're 10 thoughts ahead and you're like, could we just move it forward here? But how about if we just relax and be patient and not try to finish their sentences for them and let them finish talking? And this is the essence of James 1 verse 19, which says, take note of this, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. So there you go. Okay, second tip, exercise some patience and wait to launch serious conversations until your husband has eaten and is somewhat rested. Men, well, I get irritable. I don't know about you guys, but I get irritable if I'm hungry. My husband has learned, if she's hungry, don't even talk to her until you've fed her something. But the same thing is often true for men. So if he is hungry, now is not a good time to bring up this conversation that's of some significance. If he's tired, not the best time. If he just walked in at the end of the day, wait. It will go so much better if you can just wait, right? I love Proverbs 16:32. Better a patient man than a warrior. So just be patient. Okay, number 3, kind of related, but eliminate all distractions before important communication. Like sometimes I will physically take Raul's cell phone and set it in the bedroom or something if we're in the living room so that I know it's not gonna, the chimer for the text isn't gonna go off, because I know he'll be like riveted to that, and I'm in the middle of a conversation and he'll still pick that thing up because it rang or it tweeted or whatever it did, So remove distractions. If the TV's on and you're trying to have an important conversation, ask if you mind if you turn the TV off, or when the show's over, can we turn the TV off because I'd like to talk with you about something. Remove the distractions, right? If he's playing a video game, wait till he's done, or ask if he'll stop. 4th piece, keep your communication balanced. Oh my, this is so important. Don't make most of your communication with your husband negative, because why would he want to talk with you? If most of the time all he gets is complaints, what he's doing wrong, how unhappy you are, could you balance the communication? Maybe you do have some things you need to talk about, but could you balance it? I know you could. It's your choice. Will you balance the communication? Will you actually choose to be intentional about finding some things you can affirm, that you can encourage him about? And then if you have to bring up something, fine, but at least you balance the conversation so he doesn't feel like all you do is complain and whine and point out his flaws and tell him why he's such a failure and how unhappy you are. And okay. Number 5, don't bring up his past failures. Oh my goodness. Don't bring up his past failures and fling them in his face. Keep it current. I like to just say, keep it current. If there is a current problem, you can talk about it. If it is something he did a year ago or 6 months ago, leave it in the past. Would you really like all your past things to get flung at you when he's upset with you? And maybe he does that, but hey, I'm just saying, let's correct our side of the street here, clean up our side of the street. So don't bring up his past failures. And don't use those words like, you always, or you never, because those are so condemning. You just kind of like condemn his whole character. So just keep it current and to the point if you have something you need to bring up. Don't avoid conflict when something needs to be discussed. I'm a conflict avoider. I'm a recovering conflict avoider. I am recovering. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm doing better. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to just plow right into it that second. You might need to take a few minutes, to think of what you want to say, or maybe hours to think about what you want to say. But don't avoid what needs to be discussed, because it doesn't go away. And what does it breed? Resentment. When you just let it sit there and fester, it only breeds resentment. I've been the queen of holding resentment. That's why my first marriage blew up, because I let this mountain. I mean, it was so funny. I would always tell people, we never argued, and we never did. First husband, never argued. He was cheating on me I didn't hardly even bring that up because if I did, he kind of got a little testy, and I was like, ooh, I hate conflict. So I would just kind of back down. I know, I'm so different than I was before. But I avoided conflict. I let this resentment just build and build and build until it was like a volcano that just had to erupt, right? So don't do that. If there's something that needs to be addressed, maybe you need to take a few hours to think about what you want to say, but do address it. Number 7, stop hinting at what you want her to do. I think we've already covered that. Most men do not pick up on hints. So just tell him what you're asking, when you want it done, etc. Just tell him directly. Take what your husband says at face value and don't read between the lines. If you think he meant something more than what he actually said, ask him to clarify. Don't make assumptions because they're almost always wrong. Because who do you think's in there trying to give you the wrong assumption? Satan. He's going to be trying to whisper to you that's because he doesn't really love you. Oh, that's because the reason he didn't come home on time is because he's cheating. All these things, but don't make assumptions. If you need clarification, ask him. The 9th point, ask God to show you areas where you have been filtering communication through the emotional pain of your past. Now, this might sound kind of odd, but this was a revelation for me, and it might affect many of you. Ask God to reveal ways you've been misjudging your husband's verbal and even nonverbal communication because of your previous past emotional pain. Maybe in your family of origin, you had a rageaholic dad. That was my case. So Raul even raises his voice, and in my brain, it's like, he is a violent man, and I need to stay clear of him. I need to put up the protective walls right now. Well, Raul is just very passionate. But see, because of my past emotional pain, I misjudge what's really going on. You have your own experiences of past emotional pain from childhood or whatever, maybe a first marriage, whatever it might be for you. Are you misreading some communication, either verbal or nonverbal, because of your own past stuff? Ask God to gently reveal that to you, because often that is the case, and we get exaggerated reactions to things because of our own stuff. And the 10th little tip, be willing to give a difficult conversation a rest. Be willing to give a difficult conversation a rest so your husband has some room to process what you've said. And this is something we've learned at Squadron of Sisters just in maybe the last year, kind of a light bulb moment for many of us, that men need more time to process things, especially if you're asking them to make a change or you're confronting them with I need you to do more house chores or whatever it is. They feel like pressed up against a wall if you say, right? Are you going to agree with me? Are you going to change? Are you going to do this? And they're like, because they need time to process. Women can kind of go like, yep, I'll do that, or yep, I won't do that, or whatever. But men need more time to process. It'll go so much better if you ask what you want, and then say, can you just think about that, or pray about that, or however you would say it, and let's talk about it again tomorrow. I've already heard back from women, when we shared this a couple of weeks ago, I've heard back from women who use this piece in some very difficult conversations, and they were like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. It's like, there was no hostility, there was no defensiveness, we just talked quietly the next day. In fact, one wife said it's the best conversation we ever had the following morning, because she just gave it a rest and said, just think about it, let's talk about it again tomorrow. Well, he didn't feel pushed against the wall, rushed to make some commitment or decision, and he was able to think about it and then come back and didn't feel that pressure, and they had a great conversation. So I'm just saying,